Jungle.
Welcome back to State of Affairs Zimbabwe, your trusted channel for in-depth political analysis, breaking news, and insights into the events shaping our nation. Today, we cover a major development in Zimbabwe's political landscape, one that has stirred intense debate, fear, and determination across the country. On Tuesday, law enforcement officers moved to disrupt a campaign that aimed to mobilize opposition against alleged plans by the ruling ZANU-PF party to extend President Emmerson Mnangagwa's term beyond 2028. The campaign was scheduled at the SAPE's trust offices in Harare, where opposition politicians including Tendai Biti, Job Sikala, Munyaradzi Gwisai, and Jacob Nagarivume were set to address media and civil society representatives. The meeting was intended to alert citizens about what organizers described as a term extension plot aimed at keeping Mnangagwa in power until 2030. However, police stormed the venue and ordered the participants to disperse. Sources also allege that the SAPE's Trust conference room had been petrol-bombed earlier in the day by suspected state agents, causing property damage and heightening tensions. Job Sikala, speaking after the disruption, vowed that the opposition would not be silenced. He said this shows the state of national panic and described the approaching riot police as evidence of a dictatorship in panic. He urged Zimbabweans not to panic and promised that the opposition would announce its next course of action soon. To understand the gravity of this event, it is important to consider Zimbabwe's political history. Emmerson Mnangagwa became president following the dramatic 2017 military-assisted transition that removed Robert Mugabe from power. Many Zimbabweans initially welcomed the change, hoping it would bring political stability, economic revival, and improved governance. The Constitution currently limits presidents to 2 terms, and Mnangagwa's first term began officially in 2018. Following the 2018 elections, with his second term starting in 2023, therefore, any attempt to extend his tenure beyond 2028 would constitute a major constitutional amendment and could be perceived as undermining democratic norms. ZANU-PF has always had internal factions with varying interests. Reports suggest that a faction aligned with Vice President Constantino Chiwenga is resisting any term extension and is positioning for his eventual succession. Meanwhile, other members support exploring legal avenues to allow Mnangagwa to continue in office beyond the constitutionally mandated limits. These internal tensions create uncertainty not only within the party, but across the country, as every move has implications for governance, civil liberties, and public trust. The opposition leaders involved in the disrupted campaign are prominent figures with long histories of political activism and advocacy. Tendai Biti is known for his legal acumen and leadership in challenging unconstitutional measures. He served as finance minister during the government of national unity and has consistently fought for transparency and accountability in governance. Job Sikala is recognized for his bold stance against authoritarianism and has been involved in mobilizing grassroots activism for political reform. Munyaradzi Gwisai has a reputation as a community mobilizer who engages citizens directly in civic action, while Jacob Nagarivume is known for leading advocacy campaigns for government accountability and citizen empowerment. Their combined presence at SAPE's Trust represented a coalition of political and civil society voices determined to resist attempts to undermine the constitutional limits on presidential terms. Civil society, organizations, and church leaders have been vocal in opposing any extension of Mnangagwa's tenure. Kenneth M. Tata, programs director at the World Council of Churches, warned that such a move could have severe economic and political consequences. He explained that extending the president's term would destroy international trust, jeopardize debt restructuring efforts, discourage investment, and reopen old political wounds. According to Mtata, it would also erase any opportunity for Mnangagwa to leave a positive legacy and undermine efforts to rebuild democratic institutions. Church involvement in this debate underscores the moral and ethical dimensions of leadership in Zimbabwe. Faith-based leaders have historically played a key role in guiding public opinion and advocating for justice, and their warnings carry significant weight among communities. The economic implications of extending Mnangagwa's presidency are substantial. Zimbabwe faces a fragile economic environment with high inflation, debt restructuring challenges, and the need to attract foreign investment. Any perceived instability, particularly a move that undermines the Constitution, risks further discouraging international investors. Investors often seek predictability and adherence to rule of law, and any suggestion that democratic norms are being compromised could result in delayed investments, stalled projects, and reduced confidence in the government's ability to manage the economy effectively. Political instability can also affect Zimbabwe's international relationships, including with the Southern African Development Community, the African Union, and bilateral partners who monitor governance and democratic adherence. Historically, term extension debates have caused tension across Africa. In countries such as Uganda, Rwanda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, similar attempts to change constitutional limits have triggered protests, international criticism, and sometimes violent confrontations. Zimbabwe is being closely watched by regional and global actors. Any attempt to alter presidential term limits would not only be a domestic political challenge, but could also attract diplomatic scrutiny, potential sanctions, and negative media coverage, all of which could harm the country's reputation and economy. Within ZANU-PF, the Mutare Conference earlier this year reportedly explored legal avenues for extending Mnangagwa's term. The proposal has deepened factional divisions. The camp aligned with Chiwenga is pushing back, concerned about the political consequences and the impact on his succession plans. This internal struggle highlights the delicate balance between ambition, loyalty, and political calculation within the ruling party. How these factions navigate this crisis could determine the future of Zimbabwean politics. The opposition and civil society are closely monitoring these divisions, seeing potential leverage points to advocate for constitutionalism and democratic principles. The disruption at SAPE's trust offices and the earlier petrol bombing reflect a broader environment of political intimidation and repression. Zimbabweans are witnessing a high-stakes struggle between state power and citizen resistance. The actions taken against opposition leaders raise important questions about freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, and the role of law enforcement in political disputes. Analysts argue that the state's response signals not only panic, but also the lengths to which the government may go to suppress dissent. Opposition leaders have expressed determination to continue mobilizing, while civil society prepares to engage legal, diplomatic, and grassroots strategies to defend constitutional norms. Looking forward, Zimbabwe faces several possible scenarios. If ZANU-PF moves to extend Mnangagwa's term, resistance from opposition parties, civil society, and parts of the ruling party could intensify. Protests, legal challenges, and international condemnation are likely outcomes. Internal party conflicts could escalate, potentially undermining ZANU-PF's unity. Economically, investors and international partners may react cautiously, delaying crucial agreements and partnerships. On the other hand, if the government backs down or finds a compromise, the political landscape could stabilize, offering a window for dialogue, reform, and strategic planning for the 2028 transition. The coming months are critical in determining Zimbabwe's trajectory, whether toward strengthened democratic institutions or toward contested leadership and uncertainty. It is important to consider the broader implications of these developments. Zimbabweans have lived through periods of intense political repression, contested elections, and economic turmoil. The debate over term limits is not an abstract legal discussion. It affects everyday life, trust in institutions, and the potential for peaceful governance. Opposition leaders, civil society, and church organizations are acting not only to defend constitutional principles, but to protect the long-term stability and prosperity of the nation. How citizens respond, how parties navigate internal divisions, and how international actors engage will collectively shape the outcome. As of now, the opposition has indicated plans for follow-up action, though details remain confidential. Analysts predict a combination of public mobilization, legal strategies, and international engagement. The state's reaction will continue to be a key factor. Observers are watching closely for signs of escalation or compromise. The stakes could not be higher. The decisions made over the coming months may define Zimbabwe's political culture, democratic norms, and economic recovery for years to come. In conclusion, the disruption of the SAPI's trust campaign is a stark reminder of the ongoing tension between authority and civic engagement in Zimbabwe. It highlights the struggle over constitutionalism, the role of law enforcement in politics, the influence of internal party factions, and the determination of opposition and civil society to defend democratic norms. Zimbabweans face a critical moment in their history, one that will test the resilience of institutions, the courage of leaders, and the engagement of citizens.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.